Welcome to the Blues Fanatics Show. I'm Dave Yanni Rowley.
I'm Dan McGorry.
And we are here with the one and only, the one-man band, Hans Olson. How's it going, Ms. Olson?
It's going great, man.
It's good to see you, man. You're looking good.
I feel good.
That's good. That's good. Won't you tell us how it started with you with the blues, man? Because you got a good style. We call it old time out here, but it's like a mixture of folk and blues together. How did you start with that?
Actually, I started with folk music, and I was listening to a lot of Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan, guys like that, and Dylan did a lot of blues. A lot of the things that I liked of his, I found out later were blues things. And then I got into Johnny Cash and country music for a little while. And then I got into the white blues, like Rolling Stones and Yardbirds and those guys. And then I actually met a girl from Texas, and she had a big record collection. And she asked me what I liked. I said, I like blues music. She said, well, who do you like? I said, Canned Heat, Paul Butterfield. She said, that's not blues. And she said, what about Muddy Waters and Lightning Hopkins, John Lee Hooker? And I said, I don't know who that is.
What?
So she pulled out all those records, and then I fell in love, mostly with Muddy Waters.
Oh, yeah.
And I realized some of my favorite Rolling Stone songs were actually Muddy Waters covers. So,
right.
I mean, that's how a lot of us found it. And once I heard Muddy Waters, that was it. I was hooked.
You was hooked. When did you start playing, and what was the first instrument?
Actually, I started playing guitar first, and then I had an accident. I was singing in bands when I was a teenager, and learning to play from the guys in the bands. And
what kind of bands?
Kind of rock blues bands.
Okay.
And then I started playing guitar, and I had an accident with my left hand, and I couldn't play for about a year, and I was already getting pretty good. So then I was so frustrated, and the guys in the band said, why don't you play harmonica? So I started playing harmonica with the bands, and then eventually I put the two together.
Okay. And that's how you formulated your style.
Yeah.
The one-man wrecking crew.
That's right.
Hey,
How long have you been in Phoenix, Hans, playing blues? How long have you been in the Phoenix area?
Say that again.
How long have you been in the Phoenix area playing blues?
51 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's a long time. Very, very long time.
When you got to Phoenix, were you playing? Was there other blues things going on, or was it kind of still new to people in Phoenix when you first came here?
Well, as far as the white guys go, there wasn't much blues, but I got some good friends from the Latino community that were playing some blues. Andy Gonzalez, who still plays bass with me, was in a band called La Raza, and they were great. And whenever they did blues, they'd get me up to jam. There was also a great R&B band called Mr. Clean and the Clean Machine, and I'd get up and they'd play B.B. King and stuff like that. And so there were bands I could jam with, but there weren't that many players. That's why I played solo mostly.
Well, that changes blues players all over.
Yeah.
I went to a harmonica festival out there, and I was like, wow. I didn't know there were so many harmonica players in Arizona.
Yeah, there is.
Tons of them. Well, yeah, that's good. So you fell in love with the blues early and just didn't look back.
Yeah, I was 15 when I discovered Muddy Waters.
What is it about the music that you fell in love with?
Well, Muddy Waters band, the way they played, they centered on Muddy so much, and he had such a weird groove, and that music, when I heard his version of the Rolling Stone songs, I said, wow, that's what these guys were trying to do, and they didn't even get close. And I realized, the magic of the groove was so like I always say, blues is the easiest music to play and the hardest music to play right.
Right.
Because
Right.
these guys just don't get that, you know. I mean, it's such a magical groove when you get it.
Yeah, yeah. I get that a lot. Oh man, the blues is so easy to play. All right, you get up there and play. It's not that
Well,
easy,
e-
huh?
e- everybody can do it,
Everybody can do it,
but hardly any of them do it right.
but hardly them do it right. You're right about that. So what you established, you helped establish the Blues Academy or something like that in Arizona, or the
It's all for you.
Blues Foundation?
Well, I've been involved with a million different nonprofits, and I think the first big one was the Phoenix Blues Society.
Mhm.
And I had been touring around the country, and I went to all these cities, and they had blues societies, and I'd meet these people, and they were always really nice and helped me get work. And we didn't have one in Phoenix. Actually, we had one in Tucson, and the Tucson Blues Society, and they had about 400 members, and we didn't have one in Phoenix. And I met this girl, said she wanted to start a halfway house for old blues musicians. I said, that won't work. And
No.
she said, well, I want to help these guys. I said, well, why don't you start a blues society? And that way, you know, get all the blues fans together and help our local blues guys. So they started one, and I was the treasurer when it first started. And I did that for a long time. And then I also helped start the Arizona Blues Hall of Fame, which, by the way, Yanni, I sent you an email about a week ago because you're nominated for the Arizona Blues Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I'm gonna
And
get back with you tomorrow with that.
yeah, I need to get your bio for the ballot.
I'm gonna get back with you tomorrow on that. But
Cool.
yeah, that's great. That's great.
Cool.
I can't wait. I'm excited about it.
And I'm the secretary for the Blues Hall of Fame right now. So,
Mhm.
and I always
That down used to be president, right?
say that again.
He was the president at one point, right?
Oh yeah, I've been the president off and on.
Oh no. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you came to Phoenix, were there a lot of opportunities to lose, or was it just kind of was it more or less you had to go find, or were there opportunities for you like when you first came?
Yeah, there wasn't, you know, I mean, back then it was really pretty segregated. And, you know, I'd go to the Century Sky Room and a few of these other places, but they didn't want to hear no white kids playing blues. So I ended up playing biker bars mostly.
Yeah, yeah.
Arizona's come a long way on the blues scene, man. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
strong.
What do you think
But
about that? Have you seen a change, like that we're more becoming a more supporting of blues now than when you 51 years ago? I mean, comparatively.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say probably in the 80s, we had one of the strong, well, you know, for a while we had one of the greatest jazz communities in the country. We had great jazz, and the jazz bars, there were a whole bunch of them, but they just didn't draw that many people.
Mhm.
And so then they'd try a blues band once in a while, and the blues band would pack the place. So that's kind of how a lot of the blues things started, was in jazz clubs.
Yeah. Would you say
And then
also having like people like Bob Cortor, Chico Chisholm coming from the Chicago area to Phoenix to bring some of that that blues here when they're
yeah, that Bob was a big thing that happened here, you know, with his radio show and all that, and then with the Rhythm Room, and when Chico came, that just gave us a whole shot in the arm. He was like our ambassador, you know. And but you know, back in the 80s, the 70s and 80s, like the Rocket 88s were a real strong blues band. And then it kind of took off completely when Texas Red and the Heartbreakers, and that band had Dave Trippey and Chuck Hall, and it was just, they were a really exciting blues band. And we still had Big Pete was doing great, and Small Paul, and all of a sudden we just had an unbelievable blues scene here.
You remember Buddy Reed and the Rip It Ups when Bob
Oh,
Cornell?
absolutely. And Buddy Reed played with Rocket 88s for a while, and Buddy Reed was like, he's from my hometown in
Yeah.
Rialto, California. The first lead guitar player I ever saw was Buddy Reed at a school dance in Rialto, California.
Rialto, California.
Did you know the other members of the Rip It Ups, Scotty Meyer, Roger Rotoli?
I knew all them guys, sure.
They were there. Were they in town back in the early 90s? Or would they get a lot of people come out to see them?
Yeah, man. And back then, we all played a lot of those benefit shows together, and we all knew each other really well. And it's not that much today like that. Of course, now nobody's seeing anybody. But
yeah,
right. That was my next question to you. How you been making it through this pandemic? Have you been playing, or what have you been up to?
Actually, I've been doing really good. I got one steady gig that went away for a month or two, but then I've been doing that one every Thursday. I play out in Apache Junction. It's a really great gig. And then I started doing a podcast, not a podcast, but a webcast, a live one every Tuesday. I'm doing it tonight. I just kept working.
Would you perform during the webcast?
Oh yeah. It's about a 90-minute show.
Great. Yeah.
And I did a show at the MIM, the Musical Instrument Museum. They were closed for like 6 months. And when they reopened their concert hall, I was the first guy they put in there. I got a big check for that one. So.
That's always good. I like the MIM. It's a nice place.
Yeah, it's
real nice place.
my very favorite.
People over there is great. People over
they
there
are great.
So, what made you become the one-man band, man? What happened? What inspired that?
Well, the folk thing was pretty strong. I was playing a lot of coffee houses and stuff, and when I got to Arizona, I'd play country music, and then I'd play some blues, because to me that's what a folk singer was. We played music from all the folks,
right?
and so I'd play a little blues, and people went nuts over it and said, "Oh, we can't get that here," So I just played a little more blues and a little more blues, and I got more and more into it, and the gigs, the bands. I never had good luck with my bands staying together very long. And I, even if I had a great band, I got more calls for the solo show, right. And it was so much easier, and I made more money, and and I was playing in biker bars, so I developed this whole different thing where I played my guitar with a pickup on it through an amplifier, and then, most other guys were just putting a mic on their acoustic guitar. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly I could get really super loud, and I had these big acoustic guitars that had all that bass in them. And man, I just developed this great guitar sound that was loud. And I developed a percussion thing with my foot, mm-hmm. so that I had percussion, and that helps. And so I could do like boogie rock things, and people could dance, and that show just became what people wanted to hear. And I'm still doing it.
Yeah, and it's great. Like I love catching it every time I get a chance to, man. It's wonderful. I learn a lot when you play too.
Oh man, thanks.
No problem. So what do you think, with the pandemic and all that, you think the blues gonna continue to move forward? Because like I said, it was jumping in Arizona pretty good.
We were, yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen with all that. I don't know if it's ever going to go back to the way it was, but to me, the blues kind of has always been a steady thing since the 90s, when it kind of peaked. And the Stevie Ray Vaughan era was a big deal, where all these kids suddenly got into blues because he was such a rocker. I mean, he was. And he introduced people to Freddie King and all those guys that they hadn't really heard. And so, I mean, the Stevie Ray was like the last time there was a huge upswing in the blues. But, it's kind of a steady thing. It seems to be there's always that audience there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's always gonna be shit. I think it's gonna be one thing is gonna definitely, withstand the test of time, man. Blues is gonna always be there. That's what I love about it. You can beat it up, smack it around, and guess what? It's still gonna keep standing and moving forward.
That's right.
Consistent. So, I mean, your resume, you didn't open up for a lot of people, been on stage with a lot of people. Um, Man, I mean, I've been looking at the list and it's like, it's insane.
Well, when you're solo, they love having a solo as the opening act because then they don't have to put so much equipment up there.
Yeah.
So I got it. Yeah. And the fact that I could do everything from, quiet folk music to rock and blues, I was able to do a lot. Yeah. I've done hundreds of opening act shows for all kinds of people.
That's good. What's one of the best place you ever played?
Best place?
Yeah, like someone you really enjoyed that you really got a good feedback from the audience and
Well, I would think Red Rocks in Colorado was magical. That's a magical place to play.
okay. Never done that. What made it magical?
Well, it's kind of the MIM. I always say the MIM is like a small Red Rocks because it's the Red Rocks in Colorado is an outdoor venue with this great stage, and then it's got natural rock formation.
Mm-hmm.
And so the acoustics in there are just unbelievable. And I had heard about it, and then I played it and said, it was like playing in a church kind of.
Oh wow.
I mean, I just loved the vibe in there.
So you step back and listen to yourself for a little bit.
Well, yeah. Sound was great.
Yeah. What's that, Dan?
I was asking at that particular at the Red Rock, was it really? I mean, were people really into the blues when you played there? Is it?
Yeah, they have every kind of major act in there. I actually was playing with Bonnie Raitt and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. So, but yeah, they love all kinds of music there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So the Red Rock. What about Phoenix? That's your hometown.
Phoenix.
Well, your second hometown.
Right now, the MIM is that's the place to play for me. But I don't know. I've had too many gigs. Yeah, when I did a show over a year ago, my 50th anniversary gig, and I did it at the MIM, and I sold it out, and I had this PowerPoint presentation that I had where I went through 50 years of, all my albums and everything. And I had like 20 guitars on stage, and it was a big show. It's on YouTube now. It's in 2 parts, my 50th anniversary. But to start it, I decided to go through all my records of where I had played, and I made a list, and it was over 400 clubs, and I had it scrolling on the screen.
Oh wow.
400 places I had played. That was cool. Of course, 99% of them are gone, but
right.
It was
But
fun.
I mean, that's longevity. That's a good thing, man. If it wasn't for the blues, what do you think you'd be doing?
Oh man, I'd be dead.
don't say that.
Or I'd be playing country music.
How about the Rhythm Room? What are your most favorite memories of the Rhythm Room?
The Rhythm Room, man. I played at the Rhythm Room back when it was the Purple Turtle. So I was playing there before it was the Rhythm Room. And I've done so many unbelievable shows there. I'm trying to think what might be my favorite, but I mean, just hundreds and hundreds of great shows there.
Have you got a chance? I know Bob plays harmonica. Have you ever got to play with Bob?
Oh yeah. We've jammed a million times.
All at the room or in different places? Or?
Pardon?
At the Rhythm Room, or is it different at different venues?
I'm sure we've jammed at different places. I can't think right now.
They've been so many.
Yeah, man. 400.
Say 400, right? right. Tons of them. So you say you started out playing the guitar, then you picked up the harmonica, and you say you play drums as well, or just something you just do with your feet?
Well, I'll show you this thing. I invented this thing right here. It's just two wall plates, blank wall plates that you put over a switch, and I put BBs in it. And I do that with my foot. So that's my percussion device. Sometimes people say, "Oh, you got a drum machine." I say, "No, that's real rhythm. I'm doing it with my foot."
And some wall plates and BBs.
Yeah, man.
That's good, man. But it sounds good, man.
Sounds like a hi-hat kind of.
Yeah, it do. A hi-hat with a rattle on it.
Yeah.
And like I say, a lot of people can't do what you do, man. So I'm telling everybody, if you get a chance to see Hans, man, perform, man, you will not be disappointed, man. He got a hell of a show, man. Like I said, I call him a one-man band, and he got that name for a reason. He's awesome. So what's next? Any new music coming out, bro? Or
oh, wait a minute, I forgot to turn my phone off. Okay. Actually, I did an album about the last one was about 7-8 years ago, and it wasn't a blues album, and it didn't go anywhere. And my label, I've given them 4 or 5 blues albums, and I just kind of stopped writing songs and stopped recording, and now I just recently somebody said, "Why don't you do an album of cover songs?" So I think that's kind of a fun idea. So I'm working on that right now.
Okay.
Any specific cover songs that you're looking to do for the album?
I can't remember them right now. The producer, I said, "You pick the songs, I'll do them."
But I guess they're blues music. Are they any of them like the founding fathers of blues? Some of them songs probably.
I think half of them are going to be blues.
That's great.
So I know there's a John Lee Hooker song on there.
Oh, you can't go wrong with no John Lee.
Oh, that's certainly not.
He's my second favorite. I always tell people this is my second favorite.
Your second favorite?
Yeah. After Muddy.
After Muddy. So who was your Mount Rushmore of blues?
Well, it was, it's funny. I listened a lot to Lightning Hopkins, which I never really, it's just my style. I just loved his style and his sound, and I got a lot from him, but I don't do any Lightning Hopkins music. I just never really liked the songs, I don't think. But yeah, Muddy Waters and John Lee Hooker were the two that killed me.
Yeah, I think they did that for a lot of people.
Yeah, man.
I'm a big Muddy Waters fan, and I like Sonny Boy Williams.
Oh, yeah. Well, I listen to Sonny Boy and Little Walter and all them guys. I love B.B. King, especially.
Did you learn a lot from Little Walter?
I never, what did you say?
Did you learn from Little Walter?
Well, I never sat down and tried to learn anybody's licks. I listened a lot to them, so I'm sure I stole some, but in fact, I got this great story where I was playing with, now I can't remember the guy's name that played with Muddy Waters, the guitar player. He comes to town quite a bit.
John Primer?
John Primer.
No, the white guy.
Oh, Bob Margolin?
Yeah, Bob Margolin. Yeah. I met, when I opened for Muddy back in the early 70s and met Bob. And then years later, he was playing at the Rhythm Room, and I went to see him. And every harp player in town was there holding their little harp thing, because Bob didn't have a harp player, and all the music he played was Muddy Waters music, basically. So it was perfect for harp. So all the harp players were there, and they wanted to jam with Bob. And Bob says, "Why don't you come up and jam with me?" And I said, "No, man, it's like, I just came to see you play." And he said, "No, come up and play." I said, "No, every harp player in town wants to play, and it would just be weird." So he said, "I want you to do this Little Walter song." And I said, "Oh, no, absolutely not." Because I said, everybody in this room will know that song note for note. These guys learn them, and I said, I improvise always. And I never have learned a song by Sonny Boy the way he did it. I figured I'd do it my own way. He said, "No, man, trust me, you'll love this." So I go up on stage finally, and he says, "We're going to do a song by Little Walter." And a lot of people don't know he recorded 2 versions of this song. he said, "This is the lost. We're going to do the lost version." And he starts playing and I play, you know, and he goes, "You, if you can find that version, good luck." He said, "That's really rare." So I said, "I'm sure there's still some harp players looking for that version of the
I'm pretty sure.
So I was going to ask you, Hans. I mean, I know the Phoenix Blues Blast has brought a lot of people out to see blues in the festival. I know with obviously with the current times, it's hasn't been happening. Can you see that, hopefully one day happening again?
Oh yeah.
Just in time.
I think festivals would be the easiest thing to bring back
I think
because
so.
you got all that room, you can spread everybody out. I hope that'll happen again.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the ticket to festivals because, like you say, it's outside. You can a lot of room. You can spread everybody around, social distance, and all that stuff. So, yeah, that'll be the way to go. I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the clubs is going to take a hit for a while.
Yeah, I'd like to mention the Rhythm Room started a GoFundMe,
Yes.
and you can donate money to them because if they close, that'll just be very sad.
Yeah.
And they're going to be one of the last to open because they're so tiny
Right.
and they don't have food, so it can't be a restaurant deal.
Right.
But you can donate money if you go on to look for that Rhythm Room.
Definitely go to the Rhythm Room GoFundMe page and donate. Anything helps.
Yeah, man.
But would you say for how to get young? I mean, this is a question we had bluesman Mike Anderson on yesterday, and we were talking about, the opportunity to get younger people to appeal to the blues. Is there one thing that can help? I know obviously festivals, but what do you think is the biggest thing so that blues continues to appeal to the younger generation?
Well, like I said, that Stevie Ray Vaughan is what the kids
Yeah.
like, that rock blues thing. I would just hope that they'd go back and listen to the masters like Muddy and John
Yeah.
Lee and get that bug like I did. I mean, if you play music and you listen to those guys, I think it just can't help but grab you because if you can get close to that rhythm, you'll have so much fun playing. It's crazy.
I said this before. It's like a lot of kids I have met that's into the blues. They started off with, like you say, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then ventured back and ran into Jimmy Reed and Muddy Waters and Freddie King and Lightning Hopkins and Albert Collins and all those guys. So they start right here, then they move back and get the education. So and that what makes you into a lifelong fan, in my opinion. So they get
I say just listen to it. Maybe
just listen, right? Just listen.
Get the bug.
And get the bug. If you got a soul, it's gonna grab you.
Yeah, man.
Is there anything going on with Phoenix Blues Society at this time? I mean, I know with pandemic things have been really a challenge. If anything going on with Phoenix Blues Society as at this point?
I don't think they're doing much. I get their newsletter.
Yeah.
And they always tell some good stories about blues guys on there.
Yeah. Have you played in Flagstaff? I know Flagstaff has their own Blues and Brews. Have you played up there?
Actually, I got a call from them this year. I don't know if they asked me for my price, but I haven't heard yet. Now,
usually it's in June. That's when usually it is. But yeah, I don't. It's still up in the air.
I never played that one, but I'd like to. Yeah.
Have you played in Flagstaff other places?
Well, I've been playing since the early 70s. I've been touring the whole state, and I played in Flagstaff a lot in the 70s. And then I started working at Charlie's up there at the Weatherford Hotel in the early 80s. And I've played up there quite a bit. And the Orpheum Theater behind Charlie's there, I played there.
You think there's a way? I mean, me and Yanni have talked about this, but musicians who want to pursue blues and like there's a competition with some of these other genres, whether it's pop or rock. But is there one thing to keep these musicians into blues and not drifting into other genres and staying with blues? I know a lot of financially things come down to that, but what would you say is probably the most important thing so that musicians who can make a career in blues stay in blues and not maybe drift into these other genres? And I know that's something that goes through the minds of musicians. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know if you heard of this guy, J.D. Simo. was around for a while. He first came up to me when he was 13 or 14, and he asked if he could jam, and I thought, what a cute little kid. So he gets up and he plays, and I said, okay, listen closely. I'm going to put you in the top 5 lead guitar players in Arizona. He was 13, 14. He was just unbelievable guitar player, and he was a blues nut. And so he was this little kid, this little teenager, and he had this book that had all the blues guys in it. And he said, I'm going to get an autograph from everyone that's not dead. And he was at every show I went to that had like B.B. King or whatever, he'd be there and meet them and get their autograph. And he was the most intense musician I've ever met. And he devoured all the information. And then he got into like Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix and all these other guys, but he just stayed with the blues. And then one day, when he was just one of the greatest guitar players I've ever heard, he came to me and he said, "Those blues guys don't make any money." I said, "That's right. I never made any money. I mean, I make a living playing music, but I said, yeah. I said, there's like 5 guys that made big money playing the blues, and I said, if you're in it for the money, you're in the wrong business." And I said, it's blues music is. In fact, I always tell the story that the only 2 blues guys that ever made big money, besides maybe Eric Clapton, was B.B. King and John Lee Hooker. And I said, the only reason they made big money is B.B. King bought land in Las Vegas back in the day, before there was anything hardly there. And John Lee Hooker bought land in Sonoma County, or not Sonoma County, the really expensive part right above San Francisco. He bought land in the most expensive real estate area in California. And he bought it when it was cheap. And so towards the end, John Lee Hooker would say, "I need a couple $1,000,000. I'm going to sell another acre." But that's where he made his money. And B.B. King made his money selling land in Las Vegas. But as far as money from playing music, neither one of them ever got super wealthy.
Nah.
You think there's a way that could change? I mean, I know it take a lot, but do you think that that could eventually change, or is it be really difficult?
I don't think so. I think, most people just aren't into music that much to where, I don't see a guy like Muddy Waters ever coming up and becoming pop music. It never was, and it never will be. So I just don't see it ever being the thing. But you never know.
I mean, yeah.
There's a few young guys out there that can possibly do it. I like Gary Clark Jr. and Kingfish. So
I was just gonna say Gary Clark, but right away he said, "I don't want to be saddled with that blues."
Yeah, he kind of killed me with that.
Yeah, he was our great hope.
Right.
And then he said, "No, I can do other things." And I said, "I know, but we want to hear you play the blues." And he really did kind of go off on a tangent that is not blues, but
yeah, it kind of killed me when he said that. I was like, oh, why did he do that? Yeah.
Is that part of your perspective when like I mentioned, musicians, they go into something else that's outside of it? Is that really just, is it fan appeal? Is it just when it comes down to being more known? Is that really what it could it come down to?
Mostly just to make more money, I would think.
Yeah, and just the genre that's going to give them more.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line. If you get into blues to make money, you ain't gonna make any money.
Because I knew that right in the beginning. Everybody would say
their own. From your experience, do a lot of the venues have their own like criteria on what blues versus other genres that they would want someone to play blues and then something else? Is that a common thing where a lot of people are playing blues, but then it shifts into rock or pop or something else to bring in fans?
I wouldn't say. I mean, the clubs that are blues clubs.
I guess clubs in general could be that way. If it's not necessarily a blues club, but just a general club.
Right, and I've always done. I still say I'm a folk singer.
Sure.
But if I play a blues festival, I'll play all blues. Because I love it. It is my favorite kind of music. But I mean, I still to this day I play a lot of Bob Dylan and
Sure.
John, Johnny Cash, and you know, I
Yeah, but
love.
you got that voice, man. Even though when you do folk,
Yeah.
it still sound blues to me. So I mean,
Yeah.
this is just your voice, man. I'm like,
Well, you know, I picked that when I was a kid. I said, you know, I was a singer first, and I realized that if I pick guys like John Lee Hooker and Johnny Cash, I'll always be able to do it. You know,
right, right,
I'll get the older you get, the deeper your voice gets. So I said,
right,
so these guys that are singing out of their range, when they get older, they'll be sorry.
right.
Is it a different? I was going to ask you, Hans. Is it a different, feeling when playing on the computer or playing online versus playing in front of an audience? I know it's music, but is it just different? But not with the fans in front of you versus
Oh,
playing virtually. Did it take you some more time to get used to that versus playing say a festival or at the rhythm room or a
uh,
club?
it's ridiculous, and I hate it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people seem to really like it, and they tune in, and
What is it you don't like about it most? Is just because it's not the
yeah, it's
what?
just me and the camera. It's like,
Yeah.
in fact, I have on my iPod right here recorded applause. So after every song, I push it because you need that moment, you know, after the song to get a drink and think, what are you going to do next and all that, you know. And when
Does it
you're,
remind you of being in the studios? Is it more similar to that, being in the studios recording? I mean, I know it's a little different, but the studios, you're not necessarily in front of other fans. It's similar in that aspect.
yeah, but in a studio, you're really usually just doing a certain song that you're working on,
Not several songs.
and you're not doing a show, you
Right.
know. To do a show, I mean, I realize there's all these people watching. I mean, I got people in Sweden and France, you know, tuning in, and it's a weird pressure. I mean, you don't know
Yeah.
who's watching you
You
really.
find it a little different, like when you play in front of people, just because it's that those set of people that are at that show versus now online. It's could be anywhere in the world.
Right. And you know, it's like that's the whole thing. When you do it your whole life plan for people, it's you give them, they give you back. And it's this thing that you're working on an audience. You cannot do that when you you just got a camera.
Mhm.
So
You
but
keep
I
to
have
like a
this great applause that comes on after every song. I push it, these people clap. I go, thank you, thank you.
you keep to like a set schedule since this pandemic? I mean, keeping, uh, like a routine. I know a lot of, musicians with this, it's been disruption of routine. Have you been able to keep that same or similar routine, or at least a routine to get you through these days that aren't as maybe as active as the ones before?
Well, I really only have those two gigs, but that's kind of a routine. Every Tuesday, I do the webcast. Every Thursday, I play in Apache Junction.
Yeah.
And then I got a couple gigs on the weekends once in a while. I still there's been parties, you know. People still have parties that I play at, but you know, I built this PVC barrier. I call it my COVID barrier, and I can just pop it together. But it's a fence that keeps people like 10 feet away from me.
Oh, nice.
And that way, you know, because they'll get drunk and come right up in your face, you know. And
Mhm.
and I said, you know, this is dangerous to be out during a pandemic. But I immediately realized if I just keep all the people away from me, I don't get close to anybody, it's pretty safe.
You get to stations for the play your music. I know when I did my show, I was able to play some of your music, but do you have other stations throughout the country that play some of the music that you've produced?
I don't know. I don't pay any attention to that.
Yeah.
I sold all my material to my record label, Fervor Records, and they handle all that now. I don't sell CDs anymore, and they don't either. It's all download.
Yeah.
So I get reports from BMI and stuff, but it's just like I don't know anybody that's playing my stuff.
Mm, a shame. What a shame. So
It
let me
might
ask you
be.
this: do you still like recording?
Um, Not really. I'm
No.
about to do that covers album, so I'll be recording again. But I mean, it's just when you realize, in fact, I'm writing a book about my life, and I'm in this period now where I retired from being in the music business, And I
Right.
said, the music business, when I started, the whole point was to try to be a star and make a whole bunch of money. But then when I turned 50 and I was still making the same money I'd always made, and I said, it looks like what I'm going to be is a journeyman working musician that just
Mm-hmm.
makes a living. I make a living doing it. And I said, but if I just stop, and I talk about that ring when you're on the carousel and you're going around, you're grabbing at that brass ring.
Right.
And I did that for, for 40 years. I was on the road and I kept putting out records, and I said, maybe I'll be a star someday.
Yeah.
And then I turned 50. I said, nobody becomes a star after they're 50. So I
Yeah.
said, wait a minute. I said, why am I doing this? Because the tours are so hard,
Yeah.
and I'd make better money, but not huge money. And
Right.
I just, it was my wife said, you make the same money playing in Flagstaff as you do playing in Paris, France. So I said, why go all the way to Paris, France? If the idea isn't to get more famous, if it's just to entertain people in bars, I could do that the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
making records isn't a big deal if
I know
that's not
exactly what
your
you mean.
goal.
I know exactly what you mean. That's unfortunate, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
When
Yes.
you do as many records as I've done, and none of them made any money until my new label, Fervor Records, they actually make their money putting songs on TV and film and commercials. That's where the real
Nice.
money is. So they buy all the publishing. In fact, now they own 90% of the history of Phoenix music. They've gone to everybody I knew that made records in the 70s and 80s, and they buy all our old stuff. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I never made a dime off that. So I sold them, and then they call me and they go, we just put that song on a TV show, so you're going to get a little bit of royalties, which it's not as much as I thought it would be being on TV shows, but it's a quarterly check I get in the mail, and it's more money. I made one album for I don't know if they're still going to do it.
Yeah.
So no more recording for you, huh?
Well, I'm doing that
The cover CD.
cover album, yeah. So I'll be.
No more originals.
Well, I've actually gotten the bug lately to maybe write something. I haven't written anything in 10 years, so.
Man, well, I know it's in you, so that ain't a problem. It's just you getting in your mind that you want to do it.
Yeah. It's kind of like I never wrote songs thinking, maybe this could be a hit song. I felt like I'd like to write a song, and I would, and I'd say things I wanted to say. And so I think I've pretty much said everything I need to say in my song. In fact, the last song that I wrote that I loved was a song I wrote called Just Like Tonight. And I got fired from 3 bars for playing it.
Why?
Because it starts right off with somebody getting drunk in a bar and then going out and killing 2 people driving their car. I say, what were you thinking? It starts off with, what were you thinking? And then I talk about, I say, me, I'm just a singer in this bar, and blah, blah, blah. And, it's like this song that it took me 40 years to write in my head. And it says everything I wanted to say. And then when I was done with it, it was the only song I ever would come in and play for myself and listen to it. And it's really different. It's a country song, but it's got a heavy rock lead guitar part. In fact, Chuck Hall plays on my record. Okay. And it just shreds. It's like this really sweet country song, and then shred lead part, and then back to the country. And I said, isn't that going to ever be a hit song? And I said, the subject matter is so sad, you know. It's about, I talk about all the losers, the regulars in the bars, you know, that I've grown up with. Those guys that sit there, you come in and they're sitting in that same spot they were in last week.
Yeah.
I just feel sorry for those people. And the club owner said, "Oh, is that the way you feel about us people?" I said, "Well, yeah, sorry, but I've done this all my life, you know." And it's sad, you know, bars are sad really. But so anyways, I wrote that song and then I said, no more. I don't need to say anything else.
Yeah, that one, yeah, that's a tough one right there for a bar owner.
But now the whole world has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I have thoughts in my mind about what would I like to say about this. This is the most earth changing thing that's ever happened. And I said, I need at least to do one song about it. But
Yeah. Well, you need to throw it on this cover album. Why not?
maybe, yeah. If I can write, if I
Why
can
not?
write something, it's just like I was just in my book. I was talking about. I did an album called Hans Olson Sings the Blues,
Mm-hmm.
and I put one country instrumental on there, just to see if anybody would ever go, wait a minute. If this is called Hans Olson Sings the Blues, then it isn't blues, and you're not singing. And nobody ever mentioned it, so I just said whatever.
Well, today it's a little bit different, man. It's like if you go to Bill Street, they play blues some nights, but it's more, I guess you could say rockabilly than anything than actual blues. But they call it blues, and there's actually a lot of country too on Bill Street. So, but they call it blues. So nowadays it's like, what is the blues?
Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, I mean,
And that's a great question.
Seriously.
I mean, there's all kinds, and I tell people, I say, there was this whole time, it probably started in the 40s up to the 60s, where all these guys like Muddy Waters and John Lee Hooker and B.B. King and all these guys kind of took this gospel. I think it all came from gospel.
Yeah.
And just kind of wrote secular words and changed the beat and it was just this time. But you listen to Muddy Waters and you listen to Lightning Hopkins, and there's not much that's the same,
yeah,
and the chord progression is kind of the same, but the sound of it. And I said, and somebody asked me once when we were like, me and Chico were jamming some blues and we got it interviewed on a TV or whatever. And they said, how can you guys just get up and you never played that song before and you all play like you know it? I said, well, because we do know it. The minute somebody starts playing the song, whoever's, leading the song, we know immediately, oh, I get it. It's a Jimmy Reed groove.
right.
And if you really know, you all kind of start playing Jimmy Reed.
Right.
Yeah,
And if it's a Muddy Waters groove, you do that. And if you don't know all the styles, that's why you can't jam and make it work, because you're
Right.
saying, I don't know where we're going here. But I said, if it don't sound like one of those classic songs from that era, it's not blues.
Right.
right.
And I said, that's the thing. I said, you can write a song that sounds like that. I mean, I've stole every blues groove that was ever done. I've written my own words to it. And in fact, that blues album I was just talking about, what I did is I said, now I can't play drums. So I had my drummer come in and I played all the other instruments. And I said, okay, let's do Got My Mojo Working.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. And then and I said, now let's do Shake Your Money Maker. And we did. And I said, now let's do Manish Boy. And we did. And then the drummer left and I took all my vocals off and then played these guitar parts that kind of added groove to it. And then I wrote 10 songs, the words to 10 songs in one night. Put it because suddenly I didn't care. I mean, I didn't have some big message I'm trying to do. So I'd say, baby, I'm going to send you back to your mama. I mean, there's all those lines that I've never really used, but I was like, baby, why do you treat me this way? So I just wrote 10 blues songs in one night and stole every one of those grooves. So they were the traditional grooves.
Right.
And like I said, that album is my most successful thing. Some guy emailed me and said, "You finally learned how to play the blues." I said, I've been trying not to sound like all them guys all these years, you know. But yeah, I said, so it's really that blues is a certain thing, and if you don't do that certain thing, it ain't blues.
It ain't blues. Yeah.
And so many people, you know, how are you going to sit and listen to Muddy Waters and improve on that? You know,
Nah.
I mean, the Rolling Stones tried, and
they had to go in their phone. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the problem with today, man. Like I say, it's a lot of stuff they call blues is just not blues. Period.
Or I wouldn't say I look at it as it's not bad music, but it's a different genre clearly.
Yeah, it's not bad music. Don't get
I'm
me
not saying
wrong.
it's bad, but it's more rock or something else, and it's not bad music, but it needs to be in a different, titled differently.
Yeah, I agree.
absolutely. But I mean, the difference between Freddie King and John Lee Hooker, those are light years different.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
you know. And I said the kids kind of when Stevie Ray first came out, I didn't like him because I said, oh, now he's doing a Freddie King riff, and now he's doing an Albert Collins riff,
Right.
and now he's doing some Hendrix, and I mean, I knew all those sounds.
Right.
I said he's ripping everybody off, and then I realized that's exactly what Robert Johnson did. You know, that whole story about him selling his soul at the crossroads is crap. You know,
Right.
I've talked to these old guys that actually knew him, and they said when he first came around, he sucked so bad. Everybody told him, "You need to go woodshed." So Robert Johnson goes and steals every lick from Elmore James and all those guys, right? And he comes back and he had an amalgamation of all the great sounds of all the other guys. And everybody back then went, "Oh, he's stealing Elmore James licks."
Right.
But now today you listen to him and you go, wow, that is the basis of all rock and roll. But it's not like he sold his soul to the devil. He just worked really hard and he put it all together. And that's what Stevie Ray did. And it dawned on me. I said, wow, Jimi Hendrix has never been put together with Albert Collins like this. And I said, he did it. And to me, that was the last big step, is to put all that together.
Yeah.
But in one way it ruined it, because all these heavy metal rockers thought they were blues guys then. And they missed the whole coolness of the groove. You know?
Yeah. And that's the most important part of it all. The rhythm.
Absolutely.
The rhythm, especially when we're talking about BB and Albert King and Lightning Hopkins. They had a certain groove, man, that couldn't be denied.
It's those rhythms. And it's like the reason I got this thing is I realized right away that you got to have a backbeat.
Yeah.
To play Muddy Waters. It's like there's that beat that you don't play, and the drummer would do it, right? So I said, I can't go, I can't even illustrate it right now, but there's this boom, 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 boom. You got to have that. If you don't have that backbeat, it doesn't work. So having this it was necessary for me to play the grooves I wanted to play, to have that backbeat in there. And so many people don't even know what a backbeat is. It's all straight beat, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I love playing with Chico Chisholm, because he played around the groove. And it was so fun to play with him because he was around it. He wasn't on it, you know. And he used to say to me, you know, you just leave that space in there. That's what makes it so fun.
Right. Well, you got the science down packed, my friend. You know, over 50 years doing it, you got it down packed. Trust me.
I've been doing it
for a long time. And I hope you're doing it for 50 more.
I hope so too.
As long as you don't get frustrated and just be like, fuck it, and just walk away.
Oh, I gotta play, man.
Right.
And that's the other thing. It's like, I was so screwed up when I was young. I had to find something. And when I started playing music, I said, this just feels so good. I mean, I never thought of it as a way to make a living, you know,
Mhm.
and especially when I started playing blues. I said, well, I'll never make a living doing this. And then just all of a sudden I got a gig, and then I got another gig, and I went, you know, all of a sudden I got an album out, and I said, how did this happen?
Mhm.
And I said, well, good thing. And I always tell people, they say, do you love playing for people? And I really don't. And I shouldn't say that. But I said, what I've always done is I do what I love doing.
Mhm.
And if they enjoy it, I'm glad.
So
But,
you
but I'm
saying
not there to
when
impress them.
you saying when you're on a bandstand, you playing for yourself?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like I say, and I think, and somebody once said to me, they said, man, it is so fun to watch you because you're so into what you're doing. And I said, that's what I sell. If you want to come see a guy that's really into what he's doing, I'm your guy. I
Yeah.
said, but I'm not here trying to impress you or, you know, do things you want. I said, I'm here to do what I want and really enjoy it. And if you love watching that, you'll love watching me because I'm into what I do, because it saved my life. And it's so fun to play music. And that's the other thing, is that blues is the funnest music to play because it's an improvisational. I
Mhm.
never do the same song twice the same way, you know.
Mhm.
So I said, it's just like every other kind of music. I said, how boring if you're playing pop music and then we play that part and then we play that riff and then everything goes there and then we're done with the song.
Right.
I said, it's just like people that read music. And I say, your head is going, okay, B flat, B flat, B flat, you know. And I said, man, I'm just playing the blues and
Right.
having fun. And I'm getting to it. And I just said, I enjoy it so much. And I think people see that I enjoy it and they just say, wow, look at that guy.
Okay,
He's
that's
really
what I
into
get
it.
from you. That's what I do. You still wow yourself when you play? Like, man, I can't believe I just did that.
Well, you know, years ago, when I first got into it full time, I started in the middle of the hardest parts, especially on the harmonica and the guitar.
Mhm.
You know, I pushed the boundaries of what you can do, two things at once.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I realized during the hardest part of the song, I'm saying, did I pay my electric bill this week? And do I have gas in my car? And then I go, oh, what are you doing? What, you know, pay attention to what you're doing here. And I thought, am I going crazy? Am I driving myself crazy? So I went to a friend of mine, that Mr. Clean from the Mr. Clean and the Clean Machine. He was actually a licensed psychologist. And I went to him and I said, what's up with that? He said, dude, you are pushing yourself to the limits of what your conscious mind can do.
Mhm.
And so he said, and he explained it to me, he said, your conscious mind is like a calculator. Your subconscious mind is like a supercomputer. And he says, you get to this point where the calculator said, I can't do that. It's too hard. And
Mhm.
it's flipping over into your subconscious. And you're playing from your subconscious. He said it's like a Zen thing. It's an alpha state that you reach by
Right.
pushing yourself. He said, and then your mind's going back to the calculator. It's just saying, do I have gas in my car? Because the supercomputer is playing the music.
Oh
And
wow.
it's so fun. And then you're spending time in Zen, you know, so when you come out of it, you go, wow, it's like you were meditating. So it's just a thing that I do and I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, man. Like I say, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been there before a few times. So yeah.
Yeah, guys, you know, we all lock in, especially when you're with a band and there's
Yeah.
so many other things going on and you're locking with him and he's locking with you. And all of a sudden it's a magical thing. Anybody that plays in a band, I know you've been there.
Yeah.
It's like you all go, wow, we're making magic.
Yeah. 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 Plenty of nights like that.
Yeah, man.
And like, I'm sober too. Wow.
Yeah.
For real. For real. So what's next? Oh, your webcast. Where can
Yes, sir.
people find it?
It's on Facebook. I have two Facebook pages, a regular one and then one that says Hans Olson Live. And that's where I put that show and I got 3 or 4 usually on there from the last weeks. I take them off eventually, but there's a few of them still on there.
You gotta let them run, Hans.
Yeah.
Gotta let them run, man. Let them all run. Why not?
I'm saving them all. It's I suddenly realized, I started thinking, what if I start forgetting these songs? I should film them. And then I realized I am filming them. So I've been saving them all. I got all of them for like 10 months now, live shows. So I can go back and learn songs I forgot.
There you go. Make a DVD. Why not?
Yeah, man.
All right, we ain't gonna hold you up. Thank you for coming on, Hans. I'm Dave Yanni Riley.
Thank you so much.
And
Hans Olson.
And Hans Olson. You're on the Blues Fanatics show, and check him out. You say every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday on his Facebook
at
page.
7 o'clock, Arizona
7 o'clock. We're gonna have all the information down below so you can click on it and go check him out. Thank you again, the one-man bands, Hans Olson.
Thank you, sir. Send me that bio.
Tomorrow, you'll have it tomorrow. You got my word.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care.
You too.